The capital of the Villari Empire was a city of shining towers and floating roads. Lights moved through the air like stars, and large ships passed silently overhead. But below all the beauty was something else: control. The empire ruled many planets, and humans were just one of the many species under their power. Most humans were workers, translators, or servants. They had no rights, no voice. Milan, a young human translator, worked in the royal archives. He lived a quiet life. He woke early, walked through the long white halls of the archive building, and read old documents for the Villari rulers. He had learned their language and customs. He was careful, polite, and silent. It was the only way to survive. But inside, Milan was not silent. He had thoughts, dangerous thoughts. He remembered Earth, though he was born in space. He remembered his father's stories of freedom and how humans used to choose their own leaders. He remembered music, laughter, and skies that were not owned by anyone. One day, Milan was sent to deliver some ancient scrolls to the royal palace. It was a rare order. Humans were not allowed in the deeper parts of the palace without special permission. But the command came from someone high, so he obeyed. He walked carefully through golden gates, past tall guards in black armor. His heart beat fast. He had never been so close to the royal family. Inside, the palace was silent and cold. Walls were made of silver stone, and glowing lines moved across the floors like living wires. As he walked toward the Hall of Knowledge, he heard a voice behind him. "Are you lost?" Milan turned quickly. A tall Villari woman stood behind him. She wore a long blue robe with silver patterns, and a thin crystal circlet sat on her forehead. Her skin had a soft gold tone, and her eyes were bright purple. She looked young, but every Villari lived for centuries, so he couldn't guess her age. I was told to deliver these scrolls," Milan said, bowing slightly, "to the Hall of Knowledge." The woman tilted her head. "You are human." "Yes," Milan replied. "Translator division." She smiled gently. "I see. What is your name?" "Milan." She stepped closer. "I'm Alira." Milan froze. That name was known to all. Princess Alira, youngest daughter of Empress Thorana, known for being quiet and strange. Some said she studied forbidden things. Others said she had sympathy for the lower races. "I didn't mean to disturb you," Milan said, lowering his eyes. "You didn't," Alira said calmly. "No one ever talks to me unless they want something. You did not know who I was. So you spoke honestly." Milan didn't know what to say. He felt something strange in the air. This was not how he imagined a princess would speak. She was curious, calm, not proud like the others. "What are you reading?" Alira asked. Milan looked at the scrolls in his hands. "These are poems from the lost colony of Daster, written in mixed human Villari dialect." Alira's eyes lit up. "Read one for me." Milan hesitated. Was this a test? Alira raised her eyebrows. "Is it against the law to read for me?" He shook his head. "No, I will read." He opened one scroll and began to read in a soft voice. The poem was simple, about a traveler who misses his home. As he read, Alira closed her eyes. When he finished, she looked at him. "You have a human accent when you speak our tongue," she said. "But it makes the words feel more real." Milan smiled. "Just a little. Thank you." Alira stepped closer. "Do you know the Song of the Stars?" "I've heard of it," he said. "It's banned." She laughed lightly. "Everything beautiful is banned." Then she leaned in. "Do you want to hear it?" Milan's eyes widened. "Here, now, no one is watching." She whispered dot, and then she sang dot. It was soft and slow, in the Villari language, but full of emotion. The melody moved like light in water. Milan had never heard anything like it. It made his chest hurt and his eyes burn. When she finished, the silence felt deep. "That was beautiful," he said quietly. Alira nodded. "It is from a time before the empire became what it is now, before fear ruled everything." Milan looked around. "We should not be speaking like this." "I know," she said, "but I wanted to." She walked to the window. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like to be free?" Milan stepped beside her. "Every day." Alira turned to him. "You are not like the others. Most humans here are silent, afraid. But you speak as if your voice still belongs to you. It's only because I forgot to be careful, he said, half smiling. Alira laughed softly. Then I hope you forget again. Before he could answer, a guard's voice called from the hallway. Alira's expression changed, calm and royal again. You should go, she said quickly. Leave the scrolls with the attendant outside. Milan bowed. Thank you, princess. She looked at him one last time. We may meet again. He turned and walked away, heart racing. He had no idea what had just happened, but he knew one thing. He had just stepped into a very dangerous path, and something inside him whispered. He didn't want to turn back. Since the day Milan met Princess Alira, his life had changed. He still worked in the royal archives during the day, still walked through the same shining halls, and still bowed to every guard he passed, but inside, something was different. He thought of her voice when she sang the star song. He thought of her question, do you ever wonder what it would be like to be free? No one in the Empire asked questions like that. Not even humans. Most of them were too afraid. But Alira was not afraid. She was a princess, yes, but she was also kind, curious, and bold in a quiet way. Milan couldn't stop thinking about her. And to his surprise, she hadn't forgotten him either. A few days after their first meeting, Milan was called to the palace again. This time, it was not to deliver scrolls. A personal message had been sent to the archives. Translator Milan is needed in the West Garden at second light. No reason, no explanation. When Milan arrived, he found Alira waiting under a silver leaf tree, standing beside a small fountain that glowed with blue light. You came, she said with a soft smile. You asked, Milan replied. She motioned for him to sit. I like talking to you. You say what you really think. That is rare here. Milan sat carefully on the stone bench. And you listen. That's even more rare. Alira looked out at the garden. When I was a child, I thought the Empire was perfect. But as I grew older, I began to see the truth. People are not equal here. So many live in fear, even some in the palace. You're not afraid? Milan asked. She looked at him. I am, every day. But fear is not always a cage. Sometimes it's a reason to act. They spoke for hours about Earth, about old stories, about freedom, about songs that were never sung anymore. Each meeting was secret, each conversation dangerous, but neither of them wanted to stop. Then came the warning. It was night when Milan returned to his workers' quarters. As he opened his door, he found a folded piece of paper on the floor. No name, no seal, just 5 words written in shaky handwriting. She is not safe company. Milan stared at the note. Someone knew. Someone was watching. The next day, in the archives, his friend Ravi approached him. Ravi was a quiet man, older than Milan, and had worked in security before being transferred to document scanning. You need to be careful, Ravi said in a low voice. Milan looked up sharply. What do you mean? I mean what I said, Ravi replied. They are watching you. Someone saw you with her. The princess. Milan's heart jumped. How do you know? I worked in surveillance before. Ravi said, I still hear things. And one of Prince Varen's spies asked about you yesterday. Milan knew who Varan was, Alira's older brother, a top general, a cruel man who believed in pure Velari rule. If he discovered what Milan and Alira were doing, the punishment would be death. Why are you telling me this? Milan asked. Because once, long ago, I believed in freedom too, Ravi said quietly. Before they broke me. Milan clenched his fists. They haven't broken me yet. Ravi gave him a sad smile. Then leave. Stop meeting her. Don't give them a reason. But Milan couldn't stop. He had never felt this way before. Every moment with Alira made him feel alive. Her mind, her voice, her dreams, they gave him hope. He knew the risks. He also knew he was willing to take them. A week later, he met Alira again, this time in the hidden library deep under the palace. It was a forgotten place, filled with books no one read and songs no one sang. I received a warning, Milan said as they sat between 2 tall shelves. Someone is watching. Alira nodded. My brother suspects something. He has always hated humans. If he finds out we're meeting, he'll kill me, Milan finished. Yes, she said sadly. And he may lock me away. Then why are we still meeting? Milan asked. Alira looked into his eyes. Because truth is worth the risk, and because I trust you. Those words made something shift inside Milan. No one had ever said that to him before. He took a deep breath. Alira, this empire, it's not only cruel to humans, it's cruel to its own people. You see it too. You know it can't last forever. I know, she whispered. I've read the history. The empires that last forever are built on truth and love, not fear. Milan leaned forward. Then help me, not just with words, with knowledge. There are others, humans, Velari, even outer world species who are ready to resist. But we need someone like you, someone inside. Alira's face was full of emotion, fear, hope, doubt, and something else, belief. I will help you, she said. But you must promise me something, anything. Promise me that if the time comes, and you must choose between saving me or saving the people, you will choose them. Milan looked at her, heart heavy. He nodded. I promise. They stood up, both knowing this was no longer just a secret friendship. It was the start of something far bigger, something dangerous, something that could shake the stars. As Milan returned to his quarters that night, the city lights blinked in the sky above like quiet warnings. But his mind was clear. He had crossed the line. There was no going back. And somewhere deep in the royal palace, a pair of purple eyes watched him from behind a mirror screen. Prince Varan had seen enough. The game had begun. The stars above Velari Prime shine cold and distant, like silent watchers of a world built on fear. Deep inside the royal palace, Princess Alira sat by her wide glass window, looking up at those stars. She used to find comfort in them. Now, they reminded her how small she truly was. But something inside her had started to grow, something stronger than fear. His name was Milan. Every meeting with him made her heart beat faster. Not just because of how he looked at her like she was a real person, not just a princess, but because he made her feel like change was possible. He spoke of freedom like it was a memory he carried in his bones. Tonight, she would take a bigger risk, one that could destroy everything. When the palace lights dimmed at midnight, she slipped through a hidden door in her chamber and made her way through the servant tunnels. No guards, no cameras, only a few old passageways remained untouched by the Empire's watchful eyes. She had found them as a child, and now they were her secret path. Milan waited for her in the old observatory at the edge of the palace gardens. It was a quiet place, long forgotten, with broken walls and faded star maps on the ceiling. He stood near the broken window, looking out into the night. You came, he said as she stepped into the room. I told you I would, she replied, breathing quickly. But tonight, I didn't come just to talk. Milan turned to her, sensing the seriousness in her voice. What happened? Alira pulled a small metal device from her robe. It was no bigger than her hand. But Milan could see it was important. It blinked with soft green light. This, she said, is part of the Empire's next plan. Milan stepped closer. What kind of plan? They're going to enslave the remaining free human colonies, Alira said. They already approved it in the council. My mother signed the order last week. The attack will begin in 30 days. Milan stared at her in disbelief. How many colonies? 5. Alira said. 2 of them are heavily populated. Once they fall, there will be no free humans left. He clenched his jaw. Why are you telling me this? Because I trust you, she said. And because I want to stop it. Milan looked down at the device. This has the details? Yes. She said, flight paths, security codes, the names of ships assigned to the attack. Milan slowly took the device and held it tight. This could save thousands. Alira stepped closer. I can't change the Empire alone. But if you have this, maybe your people can fight back. Maybe they can be ready. Milan looked into her eyes. Why are you risking everything for me? For you, she whispered, and for what's right. I'm tired of pretending this empire is fair. I've seen too much. There was a long silence between them. The wind moved through the broken window. The stars above said nothing. I don't know how much longer we'll be safe, Milan said. Ravi told me spies are watching. They are, Alira replied. And my brother is growing suspicious. Prince Varan is always watching. He never trusted me. Milan nodded. He's dangerous. He won't forgive betrayal. I know, she said, her voice trembling. If he finds out, he'll have me locked away, or worse. Milan gently took her hand. We'll be careful. Her fingers curled around his. We can't be careful forever, Milan. Sooner or later, we'll have to make a choice. He understood what she meant. Their secret meetings, their growing feelings, their plans, they were all building towards something bigger. A storm was coming. I'll leave the capital tomorrow, Milan said. I have to get this device to the outer colonies. There are still human fighters out there. If I can unite them, you can start a rebellion, Alira finished. Yes, I'll help from the inside, she said. I still have access to restricted information. And there are others in the palace quiet, ones who also believe the empire is broken. I will speak to them, Milan smiled. You're braver than most people I know. I'm just tired of being silent, she said. And I believe in you. They stood close, hands still touching, eyes full of emotions too deep for words. Then Alira looked away. You should go before the guards change shift, if someone sees us. I know, Milan said. Alira turned and started walking back toward the secret passage. Before she vanished, she paused and looked over her shoulder. Don't forget me, Milan. Never. He said. The next morning, Milan packed what little he had and left his quarters quietly. He wore plain worker clothes, just like any other human in the city. But in his pocket, he carried something that could change everything. He used old service tunnels and hidden alleys to leave the capital without being noticed. It was risky, but he had help. Ravi met him at the last gate before the outer docks. You're really going? Ravi asked. Yes, Milan said. I have what I need. Ravi looked him in the eye. Be careful. They won't let you go easily. I'm not going to hide, Milan said. I'm going to fight. Ravi gave him a small nod. Then go. And don't look back. As Milan boarded the cargo ship that would take him off-world, he looked one last time at the golden towers of Velari Prime, somewhere in that palace. Alira was watching the same stars. They were far apart now, but both walking the same path meanwhile. In a dark chamber deep inside the palace, Prince Varan stood before a large screen showing secret recordings. One image froze his eyes, a blurry but clear shot of Alira handing something to a human man. He narrowed his eyes. So it's true, he whispered. My sister has betrayed the crown. He turned to his silent guards. Follow the human, bring him back, alive if possible, and find out how deep her betrayal goes. The Empire had noticed, and war was no longer a distant dream. The cargo ship shook as it entered deep space. Milan sat quietly in a storage crate, hiding behind old metal parts and supply boxes. He had left the capital just in time. By now, Prince Varan's soldiers would be searching for him. But Milan had something they didn't, hope, and a plan tucked. In his coat was the device Alira had given him. Inside it were attack plans, ship codes, and secret routes of the Velari Empire's next move. It was more powerful than any weapon. If it reached the right people, it could save thousands of human lives. The cargo ship landed on Station 12, an old refueling post near the edge of Velari space. It was small, dark, and forgotten by most, but to Milan, it was the first step in his mission. A tall man with a scar on his cheek waited at the station's gate. His name was Taran, leader of a small group of human smugglers. He had once been a soldier. Now he was a fighter for lost cousins. You must be Milan, Taran said with a hard look. Milan stepped forward. I have something you need to see. Taran led him to a hidden room inside the station. Once the door closed, Milan showed him the device. These are the Empire's plans to destroy the last free human colonies, Milan said. We can't stop them alone. But if we fight together, we have a chance. Taran studied the data carefully. Then he looked up. Where did you get this? From someone inside the palace, Milan answered. Someone Velari? Milan nodded. Someone who believes in freedom. Just like we do. Taran stood silently for a moment. Then he turned to a woman standing by the door. Get the message out. Call every rebel cell we still have. Tell them the time has come. That night, the message spread across the stars like a fire in dry grass. The Empire plans to strike. But a human named Milan carries the truth. He is alive. He is ready. We fight now or we die forever. On Velari Prime, Princess Alira moved. Through the palace with calm on her face, but fear in her heart. Every day, she checked for messages from Milan. Every night, she wondered if he had made it out safely. Her brother, Prince Varan, had become more quiet than usual, and that scared her more than his shouting ever had. He asked questions. He watched the staff closely. Guards removed. Servants disappeared. The palace had become a trap of silence. One evening, as Alira sat in the old music room, pretending to study star charts, a woman named Zira entered. She was a young servant with sharp eyes and quick steps. There is news, Zira whispered. Alira closed the book. Tell me, Milan reached Station 12. He met with rebel leaders. The message has spread. Alira let out a breath she had been holding for days. Thank the stars. But your brother suspects more than before. Zira added, he moved new guards to your wing. One of them asked me if you've spoken to any humans recently. Alira's face stayed calm. Then we must be more careful. Zira nodded. There are others in the palace who will help when the time comes. You are not alone. For the first time in days, Alira felt something warm inside her. Resistance was not just a dream. Back on Station 12, Milan and Taran gathered a group of rebels in a dusty hangar. Some were human. Some were from other alien races who had also suffered under Velari rule. A quiet buzz filled the room as Milan stepped forward. I'm not a soldier, Milan began. I'm not even a leader. I was a translator, a worker, like most of you. He held up the device. But now, I carry something that could save us all. The Empire wants to destroy what's left of us, but we don't have to let them. The crowd listened closely. I know we're outnumbered. I know they have stronger ships, better weapons, but they don't have our spirit. They don't have our reason to fight. He paused, then said clearly, we fight not for power, but for the right to choose our lives, for the right to love, to live, to be free. Someone in the back shouted, to freedom. And the others echoed, to freedom. The hangar rang with voices that had been silent for too long. 1 week later, the first blow was struck. A rebel team, guided by Milan's intel, ambushed a Velari prison ship near the Red Spiral Belt. The Empire had no idea the rebels knew its path. The fight was quick, smart, and clean. Hundreds of human prisoners were freed. The ship was taken without loss. When news of the victory spread, more people joined the cause. Hidden rebel cells in different systems came back to life. Even some Velari soldiers began to question their orders, and in the palace, the Empress heard the reports. There's a human behind this, she said coldly. Find him and bring me my daughter. Prince Varan bowed. I will handle both, mother. That night, Alira sat alone in her chamber when the door opened suddenly. 4 royal guards entered. Followed by Varan, sister, he said, his voice smooth and cold. You and I must speak. Alira stood calmly. Is this a visit or an arrest? Varan smiled slightly. That depends on your answers. He stepped closer. A human named Milan has become a problem. He has information that only a few people could access, and he somehow escaped this world without a trace. Alira kept her face still. Varan continued, you always had strange ideas, music, history, freedom, and now you've been spending time in places even I cannot enter. He leaned close. Tell me the truth, Alira. Did you help him? She met his eyes without blinking. Would you believe me if I said no? Varan's smile disappeared. No. He said, I wouldn't. He turned to the guards. Take her to the Tower of Silence. No one is to speak to her. No one is to see her. The guards grabbed her arms. But she didn't struggle. As she was led away, she whispered only one thing. Milan, don't stop. Far from the palace, Milan stood before a growing fleet of rebel ships. Tar-On handed him a headset. Another colony just joined us, he said, and we got a message from deep inside the palace. 3 words, she's been taken. Milan stared at the screen. His chest felt tight, but his eyes were clear. Then we fight harder, he said. We free the colonies, and then we go back for her. The rebellion had begun, and it would not stop. The Tower of Silence stood tall and cold on the far edge of the royal palace, built from black stone. It had no windows and only one heavy door. It was used to keep those the Empire wished to forget without trial, without voice, without light. Princess Alira sat on the cold floor of her cell, her hands chained, but her spirit still strong. Her golden robe had been taken. Now she wore plain gray cloth, like a prisoner. She had not seen the sun in days, but she kept her thoughts sharp. She did not regret helping Milan. She regretted only one thing, that she never got to tell him goodbye. Above her, Prince Var-On stood in the tower's upper chamber, looking down at the courtyard. His hands were behind his back, and his eyes were hard. She will not speak. A guard said behind him, "She does not need to," Var-On replied. Her silence is her answer. Var-On had always hated humans. To him, they were weak, loud, and dangerous. But now, one of them had started a fire across the stars. A human had become the symbol of rebellion, and that human was close to his sister. "I warned the Empress years ago," Var-On muttered. "Letting humans live under our feet would poison the palace." He turned sharply to the guard. "Prepare the watchers. I want every ship movement traced, every message scanned, and send a shadow team to the outer colonies. I want Milan caught." "Yes, my prince," far from the cold tower. Milan stood inside a secret base hidden under the rocky surface of Zakar III, a mining planet abandoned years ago. Around him stood rebel leader Tar-On, Kale, a former Velari soldier who had joined the resistance, and a dozen more from different colonies. A large screen showed maps of space routes, colonies, and enemy fleets. Red lights blinked over them, places still under the Empire's full control. Milan pointed at the map. "This is our next target. Darrow 9. It's the Empire's fuel supply point for this entire region. If we take it, they lose power here." Tar-On nodded. "We'll hit hard. And fast. No time to waste." Kale crossed his arms. "But we received a message today. From inside the palace, Alira's been captured." Locked in the Tower of Silence, Milan froze. He had feared this day would come. Every moment he spent leading raids, helping colonies, building the rebellion. He had carried her face in his mind. And now she was a prisoner. "They'll try to break her," Kale said quietly. "They won't," Milan said. "She's stronger than they know." The room fell silent. Tar-On stepped forward. "What do you want to do?" "Go back now. Risk everything to save her." Milan looked around. "If we don't destroy Darrow 9, the other colonies will fall. Alira helped us so we could fight for all of them. She made me promise I would choose the people, not just her." Tar-On gave a slow nod. "Then we strike, and after that, we go for her." The battle for Darrow 9 came 2 days later. The rebel fleet arrived out of a hidden space fold, catching the Velari guards by surprise. Fighter ships darted through space like lightning, dodging enemy blasts. Milan led the mission in a small ship called Hopefire. He flew alongside Kale, giving orders to the attack teams. Explosions lit up the sky. Rebel ships landed on the fuel station, fighting hand to hand against Velari soldiers. Despite heavy resistance, the rebels pushed through. After 2 hours of fierce fighting, the station was taken. The Velari Empire had lost its largest fuel point in the region. More colonies began to rise, but the cost was heavy. Back at the base, Milan sat in the med bay, his shoulder bandaged after taking a blast hit during the final charge. Tar-On entered, bruised and tired, but alive. "We lost 40 fighters," he said. Milan nodded slowly. "But we saved thousands." Kale entered behind him with a device in hand. A message came through. Milan sat up straight. "It's from the palace," Kale said. "Encrypted, hidden in an old melody." "It's her voice," Kale played the message. It was short, only 5 words, whispered in a soft voice. I still believe in us. Double quotes. Milan closed his eyes. Her voice gave him strength. She's still fighting. He said TARO and stepped forward. Then it's time we fight for her. Back in the Tower of Silence, Alira sat on the floor, weak from days without rest. A small light blinked on her wall. It was a secret device hidden by one of the old servants she had trusted, a woman named Zira, who now risked her life daily to bring news. The light meant one thing. The message had been sent. She smiled faintly. Varon could take her freedom, her title, even her comfort, but he could not take her faith. Not in Milan. Not in the cause. Not in the truth. The next day, Varon entered her cell. You look tired, sister, he said with a cold smile. Still holding onto your little dream. Alira said nothing. I hope Milan heard your message, he added, because it may be your last. He stepped closer. The Empress wants this rebellion ended quickly. She has approved the use of sun bombs on 3 human colonies. Millions will burn. Alira's face turned pale. Varon grinned. Yes, you helped the wrong people. She stood up slowly, eyes filled with fire. No, I helped the right ones. You're just too blind to see it. He struck her. The sound echoed through the stone room. You are no longer a princess, he said. You are just a traitor. As he left, Alira touched her cheek and whispered, and yet I'm still more royal than you'll ever be. Back on Zakar 3, Milan stood before a wall covered in stars. Behind each star was a name of fighter, a friend, a colony. He placed his hand over one star and closed his eyes. Then he turned to Taron and Kale. We saved the colonies. Now it's time to save her. Kale nodded. The palace will be ready. We'll need a plan. I have one, Milan said. He pointed to the center of the star map, Villari Prime. We don't just sneak in. Taron raised an eyebrow. Then how? We make the Empire watch, Milan said. We show them what a human can do. The capital planet of the Villari Empire, Villari Prime, shined like a jewel in space. From above, it looked peaceful, wrapped in clouds and silver light. But under that surface, fear and power ruled. The royal palace sat at the heart of the city, surrounded by tall walls and glowing towers. Hundreds of guards patrolled every corner. In the center stood the Tower of Silence, and inside, Princess. Alira waited for her fate. She did not know if Milan had received her message. She did not know if the rebellion had won or lost. But in her heart, hope still lived. Even in chains, she still believed. Far above Villari Prime, hidden behind the shadow of a dead moon, a rebel fleet prepared for the impossible. Ships were quiet. Lights dimmed. Every pilot held their breath. Inside the command ship Hopefire, Milan stood with Kale and Taron before the battle map. They had one shot, one moment to enter the most guarded planet in the galaxy. Kale tapped the screen. We have 60 seconds between the satellite scans. If we slip through, then we can land near the palace edge. Taron added, our team enters from the south tunnels. Ancient passageways, forgotten. But we found the maps. Milan looked at both men. This isn't just a rescue. If we reach the tower and get Alira out, we strike a blow the Empire can't hide. The people will rise, or they will crush. US all, Kale said. Milan nodded. Then we give them something they can't crush, truth. The team suited up. Light armor, silent weapons, tracking devices, and an old necklace that Alira once gave Milan. He wore it under his shirt, a piece of her always clothes. The countdown began. 10.9.8. The rebel dropship entered Villari Prime's upper atmosphere like a shadow, disguised as a merchant vessel. It passed the outer patrols without alarm. Then, as planned, it dove into the lower levels of the city and vanished into the underground. Milan and his Team 15 brave fighters moved fast through the old tunnels. The stone walls were cracked, filled with dust and spider-like creatures, but the path was clear. Kale held a scanner. 2 guards at the old gate, silent takedown. Taron and another rebel crept forward. A flash of movement. 2 guards dropped. Without a sound, the team moved forward. Above them, the palace continued its daily life. The Empress gave orders. Prince Varon prepared his next speech. No one knew a storm was rising below their feet. Inside her cell, Alira sat against the wall. The door creaked. She looked up, expecting more guards. Instead, an old servant Zir entered. Quickly, her face was pale, eyes wide. "You must get ready," Zira whispered. "What?" Alira stood. "Why?" Zira smiled. "The storm is coming. The one you waited for." Before Alira could ask more, Zira slipped out again. Alira's heart beat faster. Was it true? Was Milan coming? Milan's team reached the edge of the tower base. Above them, a spiral stair led to the main prison floor. They moved quickly but carefully. Suddenly, alarms rang out, warning intruders in the lower levels. Milan's jaw tightened. "They found us." Kale pulled out a blaster. "Too late to turn back now." "Then we go forward," Milan said. The team charged up the stairway, weapons ready. Guards met them halfway, armored Valari soldiers with energy shields. A battle broke out in the narrow space. Flashes of red and blue lit the darkness. Taran shouted, "3 down! Push forward!" Milan leapt across a fallen guard and reached the top. He fired at the control panel. Doors burst. "Open, go!" he shouted. "Find her." Alira heard the sounds: blasters, footsteps, shouts, and then the door exploded. Smoke filled the room. A figure stepped through. Milan, covered in dust, a cut on his cheek, but his eyes still full of fire. She stood frozen. "You came?" she whispered. "Of course I did," he said, moving quickly to break her chains. Their hands touched, warm, real. But there was no time for words. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded. "Good. We fight our way out." The team regrouped in the lower corridor. Kale covered the rear, firing at incoming guards. The Impress's elite soldiers had joined the fight. They wore black armor and moved like shadows. One rebel was hit, then another. "We're not going to make it back to the tunnels," Kale said. "We changed the plan," Milan said. "We go up." "Up?" Taran asked. "To the palace roof," Milan said. "We call for air support, but Alira has the royal code. She can unlock the palace shields." Alira stepped forward, still breathing heavily. "I can do it, but I'll need time." The team ran through the palace halls, statues of old kings, banners of conquest, and cold metal floors rushed past. They reached the roof access. Elira entered the code. The door opened. Outside, the wind was strong. The sky was full of sirens and flying patrols. But the rebels had one final chance. Alira rushed to the control pillar. Her fingers flew across the glowing keys. Below, the royal army began surrounding the palace. Varon himself arrived at the command center. "Bring me visuals," he shouted. A screen showed the rooftop. His face went pale. "Milan," he growled. "And his sister," standing beside him. "Fire on the roof." Varon screamed. Elira finished the code. The palace shields flickered, then dropped. Milan grabbed the communicator. "Now, pick up team." Coordinates locked. From the clouds above, a rebel gunship dived like a hawk. The side doors opened. Kale fired flares to guide them. Guards burst onto the roof. A fierce fight began. Alira ducked behind a wall. Milan stood in front of her, protecting her with his body. Taran took a hit but kept firing. The gunship landed with a crash. "Go," Milan shouted. "Get her inside." Kale pulled Alira into the ship. Milan followed, covering the exit. He fired one last shot, then leapt in as the door closed. The gunship rose. Valari guards shot at it, but it flew too fast. To hide. They were gone. Inside the ship, Alira sat beside Milan, her hand in his. "You came for me," she said again. "I told you," he whispered. "No empire can stop love." She smiled. "They will come after us. Let them," Milan said. "We've already won the hearts of the people." Kale entered from the cockpit. "Message from the colonies. After the rescue, uprisings have started everywhere. They saw it live. Broadcasted. Someone hacked the palace cameras." Taran limped in, smiling. "Even the outer worlds are cheering your name, Milan." Milan looked at Alira. "Not just mine, hers too." She held his hand tighter. "Together." They had shaken the galaxy. The rebel ship soared through the stars, leaving Valari Prime behind. Inside, the wounded were being treated, and the crew quietly watched the news spreading across systems. On every screen, every channel, the image of Milan holding Alira's hand on the palace roof was being shown. People from outer colonies, mining planets, even high-class trade worlds were watching in silence. For the first time, they saw not just rebellion, but hope. Inside the ship, Milan sat beside Alira, holding a warm drink. Her wrists still showed marks from the chains, but her eyes were calm now. "We made it," he said softly. Alira nodded. "But the fight isn't over." Milan leaned back. "No." But something changed. The people saw the truth. She looked out the window, at the stars passing by. "My mother, the Empress, will never forgive us. Varan will hunt us." "We'll be ready," Milan said. Just then, Kale entered the room. "Milan, you need to see this." Inside the control room, the team stood around the large screen. Kale turned up the volume. The face of Prince Varan appeared, speaking from the palace. "This rebellion," he said, voice cold, "is led by traitors. My sister has turned against the Empire. The human Milan is a terrorist. We will find them. We will crush them." Milan crossed his arms. Same speech, different day. But Kale smiled. "Wait." The screen flickered. Danced suddenly. A new voice replaced Varan. "People of the galaxy," said a soft, steady voice. It was Alira's. Kale had broadcasted her secret message, the one she recorded before she was captured. "My name is Alira, Princess of the Valari Empire," her voice said. "And I tell you the truth. The Empire does not protect us, it controls us. It uses fear and silence. But I have seen another way. I have seen love, kindness, and freedom. That is why I now stand with the rebels, not to destroy, but to rebuild." The screen changed to a recording of Alira helping wounded rebels, hugging a small girl, and standing beside Milan. Kale looked at her. "You didn't think I saved your message, did you?" Alira's cheeks turned red. "I thought it was lost." "No message of hope is ever truly lost," Taran said. The galaxy changed that day. The outer colonies rose in protest. Supply chains stopped. Soldiers refused to follow cruel orders. Flags of the rebellion flew even on Empire planets. More importantly, people began speaking Alira's name with respect, and Milan's name with pride. They were no longer just a princess and a human warrior. They were symbols. Weeks later, in a hidden rebel base deep in asteroid fields, leaders from different systems gathered. Kale, Taran, and dozens of rebel captains sat in a round chamber. Maps floated above them. Battle reports, peace talks, new alliances. At the center stood Milan, and El Ira. Taron raised a glass to the ones who lit the fire. Cheers filled the room. Milan raised his hand. "We didn't start this for power or revenge. We started it because we wanted freedom for all. But now we must be careful. Winning hearts is only the first step. We must lead with truth, not fear." Alira stepped forward. "We will not replace one empire with another. We will build something better, together." Everyone clapped. That night, Milan and Alira walked alone outside the base. The stars stretched above them like a sea of light. Alira turned to him. "Do you ever wonder how all this began?" Milan smiled. "You were a curious princess. I was a lost human. You saved me from being a prisoner. You saved me from being alone." She looked at him. "Do you regret it?" "Never." She placed her head on his shoulder. "Me neither." They stood like that in silence. But the Empire had not fallen yet. Varan grew more violent with each passing day. He ordered attacks on innocent worlds. He forced people to kneel. He swore that he would capture Milan and Alira alive. And then news came. The Empress had vanished from public view. Rumors spread. Some said she was sick. Others said she had left the throne. Some believed she had finally seen her daughter's truth. But no one could confirm it. In her place, Varan took full control. "We must strike now," Kale said during the next meeting. "If we delay, Varan will build new weapons," Taran added. "But many still fear the Empire," Alira warned. "We must not become what we fight." Milan nodded. We go to Valari Prime, but not with bombs. We go with proof. Alira's eyes lit up. The old records. My mother kept them hidden. Reports of the Empire's crimes. Hidden voices. The truth. If we can reach them, Milan said, we can show the galaxy everything. Taran grinned. So, one last mission? Kale smirked. Wouldn't be us without a bit of danger. The final mission was quiet. No explosions. No grand battle. Milan, Alira, Kale, and Taran slipped into the royal vault through a forgotten path one Alira remembered from childhood. The guards were few. Varon had trusted the tower to machines. Inside the vault, Alira found what she needed: crystals, records, personal logs, hidden shame. They left without being seen. The next day, they broadcasted everything. The galaxy held its breath. Footage of slave camps, hidden prisons, secret messages from old officials, stories that had been buried for decades. And finally, a message from the Empress herself. A recorded message, stored away, as if waiting for the right moment. If you see this, it means my daughter has found her way, the Empress said. I was wrong to rule with fear. She is the future. People wept. Even soldiers of the Empire dropped their weapons. Prince Varon tried to escape, but his own men refused to protect him. He was captured without a fight. The Valari Empire, after centuries of rule, fell not by war, but by truth. 1 month later, a new council was formed. Leaders from every planet, human, alien, noble, worker, gathered to build a new order. Milan and Alira were offered crowns. They refused. We are not rulers, Milan said. We are only reminders. Alira added, reminders that love can change anything. Instead, they helped form a galactic union where each world had a voice. On a quiet hill, under the shade of a glowing tree, Milan and Alira finally rested. People still sent them messages. Songs were written about them, statues built, but they did not seek fame. They only wanted peace. Milan looked at her. So, princess, she smiled. Yes, ready for a quiet life. Alira laughed. With you, never quiet, but always full of love. They kissed under the stars, no longer hiding, no longer running. Just two souls who had dared to believe in each other, and in doing so, they had changed the galaxy. The end.